Hello, this is Ashley Sellers with Speech, Language, and Beyond. I'm here again to talk specifically to my speech language pathologist. I have some materials that are available on my website that are free. You can go to www.speechlanguageandbeyond.com, click on the online speech therapy tab, and you will see these materials that I'm about to discuss with you. They're free and I really feel like you would like them. And just to I want this video to be really quick, so I'm not rushing, but the reason why I came up with these were because I was working as a school speech therapist, used to seeing my kids face to face, used to being hands-on, and then I made the transition over to online speech therapy, and it was so different. But I still wanted to use those same hands-on structured methods that I used in my classroom online. And so I created these products as a part of a program that I call my Active Speech Participation Program, because when the kids are online, you just don't get to touch them and see them and really be hands-on with them. But I wanted them to be just excited as my kids used to be when they would come to speech therapy in my classroom. I wanted them to be able to play games. I wanted them to be able to earn stickers. I wanted them to be able to earn prizes, just to be interactive all at once. And there are 2 sheets that are included in here that, even though it was a part of my Active Speech Participation Program, that I used it with all of my children because it encouraged them to pay attention more in speech, and it allowed for them to make sure that they knew what their responsibility was as being a speech student and knowing what it is they needed to learn. Okay, and I think there is more information about the speech participation program on my website. If that's something that you want to use with your students, that's perfectly fine. And as a way that worked was, I would tell my parents to go to my website and to download these sheets and to put them in a folder, even though I would still upload some of these sheets to the online room on the whiteboard. And what would happen is, as we would come in and we would complete the activities, as they earned prizes, I mailed the stickers to them that I wanted them to use to put on their sticker chart. And once they filled their sticker chart up with 6 stickers, then I would mail them their prize for that particular time. So the packet included spinners for games, a sticker chart, a speech responsibility sheet, and a speech progress chart. Okay, so first let's look at the speech responsibility sheet. This is what it looks like. Okay, there's a paragraph at the bottom that explains what this sheet is for, and then there's a checkoff list here. This was the first thing they were always presented, to go over that paragraph first, just to key them in on what their purpose of speech was. And then once we were finished completing all of our activities for the day, we would come back to the bottom and do this checklist. Alright, and on the checklist you see that it says I showed up on time, I listened and followed directions, I completed all of my assignments, I completed my homework, and today in speech I learned. And if they were able to check all of those off, then that was a way for them to earn a sticker for that particular day. Alright, and the sticker chart looks like this. It is called my Say What sticker chart. Okay, and the speech box is here, and it says at the top, stickers are earned by good behavior and active participation. Please place a sticker or stamp in the spaces below. So once they earned 6 of these stickers and they filled up this first sheet, then they would get mailed out their first prize. Okay? And just to kind of go back right now to the speech responsibility sheet, the reason why this is important to me is because a lot of times I feel like children are not explained, it's not explained to children why they are attending speech. They need to know that, you know what, there's an area of difficulty that you have, and there's a responsibility that you have to make sure that you come in here and you learn the strategies that you need to learn, and that you're taking them outside of the classroom. So this paragraph simply says, I understand that my speech therapy class is very important. It will help me communicate better with my family, teachers, friends, and peers. Therefore, I'm responsible for my behavior, attitude, and how I complete my assignments. and that just makes them responsible, and it makes them pay attention when they come to class, because the very last thing that you have to do is tell me what you learned in speech today. And this is going to allow me to know whether or not you paid attention, whether or not you understand a particular goal that we're working on, and where we need to start. But it also makes them know that, okay, once I'm done giving you all the strategies, then you have to show me what you learned. So that gives them that sense of responsibility that they have to pay attention, they have to behave right, and they have to be willing to do their assignments. Okay, so that's a very good sheet, and this is one of the sheets that I use with all of my children, even though it's a sheet that's included in my active speech participation program. All right, the next sheet that I love so much is my speech progress chart, or my speech progress sheet. And this is a way for them to measure how well they're doing on their goals and objectives. And then a lot of times you have parents that want to know, hey, how are they doing with this? How are they doing with that? And so as a way of doing that, as long as I have this sheet, I can always go back and give evidence of, yes, they came to speech today, this is what they learned, and I'm not in class wasting their time, and they're not always playing games. Yes, when your child is with me, they are learning something. All right, so if you look at this sheet, it has a space for their name and their day and the date. It has all the areas of language or speech that we work with, so they would circle the one that they're doing, and then you see where it says goal 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Either you will upload this to your online speech room and you would type the goal in, but the child also needs to have a hard copy because they're going to write it down as well. So if we were working on inferences, they would have making inferences here, okay, by goal number 1. If we worked on articulating the R sound as our second goal, then that would be written in by goal 2. So you'll also notice here that for each goal, there is a bar associated with each goal. This is where they're going to go in and measure how well they did on their goals. How are they going to do that? If you look here at the bottom, there is a key. Red means needs more work, yellow means making some progress, and green means progressing well. That is how they're going to measure themselves. Okay, so if a student says, well, I feel like I need a red today, that means that they're just not doing good with this goal right now. You had to provide a lot of cueing, a lot of prompting, a lot of modeling, and you had to give a lot of examples. You just had to be really hands-on and really break down that skill or goal that they needed to learn. So that's how they would give themselves a red in one of these bars right here below. All right, if they said they felt like they would score themselves a yellow, then that means that, you know what, they were at some points able to do it independently, but there were times when you still needed to provide cueing, modeling, prompting, and you had to still give examples. So they would get a yellow. If they say, well, Miss Sellers, I feel like, you know what, I deserve a green today, then that means they understand that, you know what, they were able to do the goal, or the goal that we were targeting. They were able to complete whatever assignment that went along with that with no help, no cueing, no prompting. They were independent. They got it right every time. You had to provide no help at all, and that's how they would score themselves a green on this. And so just to kind of give you an example of what that would look like, you see the person's name here is Joe. It has the dates. They're working on language. They were working on making inferences, and they scored a yellow. Okay, and I just simply did that by using colored pencils or crayons or whatever that was in that color. If you're so like I said, even though it's online, my children still had to have a hard copy, and they had to write everything down that I put in on the board, and they also had to color it in, because that was allowing them to keep a record just in case the parent wanted to know, what did you learn today, how well did you do. They could talk about it and they could show them. Okay, so I thought that was very good. And then as a side note, anytime my kids, if they scored themselves a red or a yellow, then my first question was, how do you think you can do better? What were some of the things that you did wrong? That is the purpose of this sheet. They need to know what they don't understand. They need to know what they did wrong, so that way they can always correct themselves even when you're not around. And if they scored a green and they did well and they didn't need any of my help, then my question is, what are the things that you felt like you did correctly? What did you do right? And that lets them know still what they understand, and allows for them to praise themselves and to be proud of themselves because they know that they're making progress. So those are the questions that I asked that are attached to this sheet. So the speech responsibility sheet, which is this one, and the speech progress sheet are sheets that I use with all of my children, but they're also the sheets that are included in my active speech participation program. And last but not least, and I know this is one that you are going to love, it's this spinner chart. Well, spinner, not chart, but this spinner. Now, if you will notice on this spinner, there are numbers and there are shapes. And have you heard of the double dice articulation games that comes with the little cube, and it has the dice in the middle, and if they land on the shape or the number, then they have to do the shape or number that's corresponded to that? This is directly related to that, and it was for my online kids, because what I found myself doing was giving my kids those sheets online, but I was the one who had the spinner spinning it and not them. It wasn't interesting for me to spin the spinner, but I'm like, okay, I can make it more interactive by creating a spinner that corresponds with those double dice games. And let me say as a side note, you cannot, I'm not selling this because this was not my original idea. I just modified something that this person had already made, and I really did it just for my use only because I wanted it to be interactive for my kids. So this is not my original idea. I took the idea of the author who created this and just made it as a spinner so that my kids that I work with online would have access to this, because honestly, I couldn't afford to get all those kids a dice that was $12.95 and send it off to them and expect for them not to lose it and to have it. So a cheaper, better way of being able to do that was to create a spinner that coincided with those activity sheets. And so basically, I was like, in the beginning, I was the one who had the spinner, but it wasn't fun for me and it wasn't fun for the child. So I'm like, if I make a version of that they can have so that they can be hands-on, that's even better. So I had my children go in and download this from my website. This has been printed out on cardstock paper. I would have them cut it out and use one of these brass fasteners that once you cut it out, you see there's a hole in the arrow here and there's a hole in the spinner. So you just punch a hole through that and you put it through, and it does work. I couldn't find the one that I made to show you. And I will also tell them before they did that to laminate it so they could get a lot of use out of it. And I love, love, love this. And I basically use this with my children, and whenever we're working on one of those activities, I just tell them to pull this spinner out and they're up and ready to go, and it coincides so well with those double dice articulation or language sheets. Okay? And on the that page as well, you will also find another spinner. I think that it's green, and it goes through numbers 1 through 4 or 1 through 5, and those can be used with anything, any type of game board that you upload to the online room.